Hello and welcome to On the Right Track Career Stories, a podcast and video series about real people, their real careers and real lives. I'm Jane Christopher, your host, and today I've got Meredith Macfarlane with us. Hello, Meredith. And she is a hospitality executive. She's got a very interesting career, and she's going to tell us about what she does and how she got there. So Meredith, why don't you just get started? What do you do for a living?
Sure. I'm currently the general manager at the Four Seasons Resort and Residence in Vail, Colorado. I've been in hospitality my entire career. I started actually as a receptionist working the overnight shift at a hotel in Toronto. I think it's called the Eaton Chelsea now. Back in the day, it was called the Delta Chelsea. And over the years, I've had many different jobs in hospitality. Excited now to be a part of the Vail community. And I really think hospitality, is a great career for those individuals who love people, who love a dynamic work environment. And it's being with Four Seasons has been a real joy for me.
Okay, so Meredith, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got there, how you got here?
Well, I'm going to tell you the truth because I think the truth is really important. When I went to Queen's and I studied history and politics, and I'd always kind of sort of thought that I would get into law. And the big takeaway from that process was you do have to study for your LSATs, which I didn't do, and I failed. What that sort of caused me to realize, because I'm a person who usually, when I set a goal for myself, I usually get to where I want to be, was that I clearly didn't want to do that. And so I was talking to my parents about what my next step should be. We graduated in 1994, and the province of Ontario, where I'm from, was in the midst of a recession. And I really didn't know what to do, but I did know I didn't want to go back to school. So my mom, she had a really, really good friend, her best friend actually, and her brother, was in hospitality. And so I went to meet with him, and the rest is kind of history. He described a work environment where, you start at, you start as a receptionist or a server in a restaurant. And if you've got passion and drive and the willingness to learn, you can go as high up in the organization as you want to. And for me, working quite hard at university, that sounded fantastic. Now it certainly isn't, being a receptionist at a front desk, was the entry level position. But once I got there, it's a position where you see everything that's going on in the hotel. And so it became very clear to me that the hotel industry, hospitality, is very dynamic. And, there's not just operational jobs like servers and receptionists and managers of those areas. There's HR, there's sales and marketing, there's accounting. And so for me, I thought that was really, really interesting because I like being in an environment where it's very dynamic. And so through my career, primarily I've been in operations, right? So primarily my background is managing the rooms division of a hotel. I'm currently the rooms lead for the Americas for Four Seasons. And so that's things like checking in and checking out, parking cars, cleaning rooms, the folks that take care of those jobs. That's sort of been my expertise. But the thing about hospitality that's so dynamic is you can get into hospitality and have a degree in marketing. You can get into hospitality and have a degree in business administration. So, I didn't go to hospitality school. I don't even think I knew hospitality school existed when I was applying for universities. So that is exciting now that that's an opportunity that people can take advantage of. They can go to school and study hotel management, but you can also do what I did, which is kind of find it organically.
Now, do you need to have a university degree?
It's recommended for sure, especially if you're looking to be in an upper management position down the road, but not necessarily. Lots of folks, I've got a gentleman who works for me. He's our assistant director of engineering. Great job. And he started off as an engineer who was responsible for, if a guest called and said, hey, the light's out of my room, he would go and respond to that call and fix the light. So it is really an environment where, you can get as much out of your career as you want. I've got folks who work with me who've been receptionists for 20 years. They live in Vail because they like the lifestyle. They want to ski, they want to hike, they want to mountain bike, so they want to control the amount of hours they work. They want to control, and that's what works for them. And then I've got other folks who, I've seen go from receptionists to now being, directors of rooms or general managers. So it really is an industry where you can carve out the kind of career that you want personally.
Okay, Meredith, what does a week look like in your life? Where you're at, like where you are now as GM?
Well, I will say this, and I think this is why this works for me. No week is the same. This is not a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 role by any stretch of the imagination. It's one of those worlds where I really work all the time, but I'm really good with that because I have found a way to interweave my life with my work. And I think the technology that we have access to makes a huge difference on that front. But typically, I think painting a day is a little more easier than painting a week.
Okay.
So typically, I would be into the hotel probably 7:30, 7:45 in the morning. I'll do a walk around to check on everything. If I see something that needs to get fixed and I can fix it easily, I do it. If it's a bigger issue, I'll usually take a photo and text it to whoever's responsible for that area. Greeting guests, checking in with my employees, making sure everybody's feeling good about what they're doing. I mean, positive energy is really critical in our business. It's a big part of who we are as a brand. And so if my people don't feel like I'm vested in them, they're certainly not going to be vested in providing amazing service. So that's a really key part of what I do. At 10 o'clock every morning, we have what we call morning meeting, where all of the key managers who are on site get together. We go through all of our arrivals for the day, and it'll be sort of like Meredith Macfarlane's coming. She's gluten-free, so the kitchen can make a note of that. She's staying for 4 nights. Her key focus is wellness while she's here. She's got spa appointments, just so we really make sure everyone's aware of what our guests are coming to experience when they're in Vail. Because we're primarily, obviously, a leisure destination. We have group business, but it's mostly leisure oriented. And so we do that. We go through what we call glitches, which are really important to Four Seasons. So basically that's guests who've had a service issue of some nature.
Right.
We talk about that so we can make sure we've got really strong service recovery. That's really important to us because the reality of a people business is mistakes happen, and it's what you do with the mistake that's going to determine how loyal that guest is to your particular brand. And then we really go through what's going on in the hotel, what meetings we have, do we have certain VIPs arriving, what's the mountain conditions looking like, so things of that nature. And I think what I appreciate about Four Seasons is the level of detail we get into, because it enables us, communication is knowledge, and knowledge it's critical to creating, a powerful team that can sort of, when they see you, they know who you are, right? The whole idea is that we want our guests to feel like we see them, we recognize them, and we value them. After that, I'll typically check in with usually my director of people and culture. That's what we actually refer to human resources as a brand, just to see what's brewing. Are there any things I need to be aware of? And then it depends on the day, but I try to walk around the property at least 3 or 4 times a day to touch base with the guests, to look at the physical product, to touch base with my team. I'll often go into meetings where we're talking about what's our forecast, what does future occupancy look like, how are revenues coming in. I'll go to marketing meetings and PR meetings where we talk about what fun promotions we're going to do to excite guests to want to come. There are issues at times when you're in a people business, right? Whether it's a guest has concerns, I might need to meet with them and walk through what's happened to them. I really try to empower my people that it doesn't take me to fix it, because I am just one person, and I've got 257. So I want, I want my people to feel like they can fix it, but there are times where a guest wants to speak to the general manager, and that's my role. I see myself as being, I'm the one who gets the barriers out of the way, the obstacles out of the way for my people so they can really shine. And then oftentimes the day will wrap up, depending on what's going on in the hotel. If we have an event, I'll stick around for that. I try to be home by around 7 at the latest every night. That doesn't always work because I like to have dinner with my kids and my husband and just kind of talk through our day. But it's not uncommon for me to jump back online after dinner and, be watching TV with my husband, enjoying a glass of wine, and still kind of responding to the glitches at night, responding to if there's concerns. And I think what that does is, in our business where it's very dynamic, it's key for me to stay connected, because then it enables me to decide how I'm going to plan my next day, because it's very fluid.
Okay, so it sounds like you have to pay attention to so many details, lots of balls in the air all the time. When do you have time to rest? Because in hospitality, your main events happen on holidays, right? Everybody else
Yeah.
has holidays.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, my busiest time of year is festive, and which is Christmas, the Christmas time period, the 10 days sort of, December 20th onward, sort of to, January 5th or 6th, depending. For me, when I'm at home, I really try, and this is going to sound kind of contradictory, I do try to stay in touch, but I also really try to make sure I find time to do things with my husband and my kids. So like, my kids' soccer games are really important for me to attend. Us playing a game of Settlers of Catan, which is just a really fun, cool game we played a lot of lately. And those kind of things. I really, when I take holidays, I try to unplug, but the reality of it is it's not what I signed up for. And that's good for me because that's my personality type. I think for me, everyone has a different definition of work-life balance. And I think, not, this wouldn't work for everybody, but it's who I am and it's how I thrive. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I try to make sure I get like 8 hours sleep every single night. Sleep is really important to me. I don't screw around with my sleep at all. I try to make sure, I'm more of a walker hiker now than I am a runner. I hate to say that because I used to be quite a good runner. So I like walking the dog and things like that, I think are really important. You do have to check out. And I know when I'm getting to the point where I really need a break. And when I start to feel that way, I find a way to take a break. And the good news is when you're the boss, you can do that.
Okay, so for younger people who are considering a career in hospitality, what should they expect for a realistic
I think well, it depends on where they aspire to, right? So I'll use the example of my colleague who's a receptionist. She had at one point kind of got on the management track and realized that wasn't for her. So she's a receptionist. She works 5 shifts a week, 8 hours a day, and then she does her thing, right? She's, in the winter, she likes to work PM shifts so she can ski in the morning, and she's got her world all sorted. In my world, and I think this is true of as you climb the ladder of any organization, the higher you get up in the organization, the more responsibility you have. And so, that there is a degree of intensity around that isn't ideal for everyone. And I think that's okay. I think the biggest advice I give because we have the University of Denver that comes up here all the time with their hospitality program. And I talk to their first year students. And my advice to them is, regardless of what career you choose, the expectations of the role need to sort of marry with who you are and what your lifestyle aspirations are. Yeah. And so I'm very fortunate that my husband early on decided that he was going to stop working to enable me to do this, because I also travel, and as I mentioned, the hours are long. But I think it's critical for young people to think about what it is they want out of their life. Mm-hmm. For a career that aligns with what that means to them. So for some people, what I do wouldn't work, and that's okay. I love it, and that's the most important thing. And so for those who want to become a general manager of a hotel, a lot is asked, but also a lot is given. I mean, I've had the opportunity to mentor some fantastic people. It's literally the most important thing I do. I've had the ability to travel all over the world with Four Seasons, which is, I've seen some things that I just wouldn't have seen otherwise. And that's what fills my soul is the people, the places, taking care of our guests, that kind of stuff I really love. And that's the most important thing. You need to do what you love, and the rest will kind of take care of itself.
Now, is there anything you struggle with?
I did struggle very early on with a lot of guilt around my children. I'm not going to lie. I think most mothers do. But I think the most important thing is really, if you're a type A personality like you and I are, you have a quest to be perfect, and that can be, nobody's perfect. Life isn't perfect. And I think once you accept that, you know, and I used to feel there were times where I was, not only I wasn't being a good mom, and I wasn't being good at work, and I was kind of failing at both. And I kind of had to accept that, you know what, some days are going to be better than others, and that it's a balancing act. The biggest challenges for me anyways were not feeling guilty. I think I spent a lot of time feeling guilty for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay, thank
shouldn't say
you.
no reason, but I couldn't change it.
Right. I appreciate your sharing, Mare. What would you recommend for high school kids who are trying to figure out who they are?
I think, one of the things about this business is, I think a lot of people see hotels and think like, they don't really understand that staying at a hotel isn't the same as working at a hotel. And so I would recommend, whatever it is that you're interested in, try to find a way to network, to connect with somebody who actually does that, does whatever you're interested in. If you're interested in, if you're interested in sports medicine, try to find somebody that you can connect with to talk a little bit about their career path and what they did. I think that's, in today's day and age, you can also research a lot online, which obviously wasn't the case for you and I. But I remember early on having quite a few conversations with people about hospitality that enabled me to really sort of see that it was going to be a good fit for me down the road. I think talking to people who do or have the position or the career that you're interested in, I think is valuable.
Yep. Great tip. What skill is the most important for hospitality in this day and age?
Ooh. You know what I think is the most important skill? It'd be interesting to see what my colleagues would say. I think you really, really have to have human empathy. Like, I think there was a time in our business where people would kind of fake it till they make it. And the reality of it is, our guests can see through that. And they want to know that if they're going to pay to stay at a Four Seasons and they have a problem, you truly care about them. And I think your employees need to see that now. I mean, people are, we're savvy. And if you don't show up, I always say you need to show up from a place of contribution. You want to be in service. You genuinely care, even if you're making extremely difficult difficult decisions. Those difficult decisions will be made much easier by people knowing that you genuinely care. And I think the people who struggle in our business right now are the ones who don't really want to be in service, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Okay, so Meredith, what would you tell your younger self?
What would I tell my younger self? I think I would tell my younger self that it's going to be okay. I think I worried a lot. I worried about being seen and people understanding what I wanted out of my career. At the time that I sort of embarked on this journey, there weren't a lot of female general managers. There still aren't really, quite frankly, as a proportion of the population. And I think I would tell myself to believe in myself a little bit more. I think there were times where I was a bit of my own worst enemy. I mean, I think there's always got to be an element of humility in everything you do. In hospitality, definitely you need humility. But I think it's also okay to be confident in yourself. And, I still do have a tendency at times to overthink things. I think it makes me good at my job because I really think through all the decisions I make. But at other times, I think I have, and not so much now, but definitely in the past, I used to beat myself up a little too much. And I think I would tell myself to, give yourself a break, Meredith.
Love it. Okay, so thanks very much, Meredith, for sharing today. I've got one question left. And
Sure.
my question is, if you were not in hospitality, sounds like you love what you do.
I do.
Very good at it. What would you be doing instead?
That is really good. I've never, ever thought of that. That's a good question. Um, you know, Honestly, I'd probably do something like, there are times when I'm finding myself at the resort and I'm feeling maybe anxious. I find doing things with my hands. So I think I would do something landscaping like, or planting. I don't know. I like that. That's one of the things I like to do. When you talk about things that sort of de-stress me, I think gardening is a really good one because it's, you get a lot of satisfaction out of it. There's nothing more beautiful than seeing, plants and flowers. So maybe landscaping, but honestly, I've never thought of it.
No kidding. You love it. You love
Yeah,
your,
I do. I do. I really, it floats my boat. That's for sure. It makes me very, very happy.
yeah, good. Love it. Okay, well, Meredith, this has been a wonderful conversation. It's been so great to chat with you. Thank you for sharing your insights, your experience, and your tips for all of our young viewers. And hope to see you at the Four Seasons. I'll be looking for you.
Thank you. Great chatting with you. The questions were great, Jane.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you liked the video, give us a like, and even better, subscribe. For more information, check out the links below. You'll get lots of scoop about other social media platforms, more information about our interview guests, and the services available from Right Track Education. Have a great day and best wishes to everyone.